Gambian leader Yahya Jammeh says he will defend his country against any outside aggression. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump continues to cast doubt on the competency of the U.S. intelligence community. And healthcare challenges mount for Zimbabwe as the country deals with a typhoid outbreak and a mental health crisis. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. We begin in the Gambia, where President Yahya Jammeh says the Economic Community of West African States' threat to send in troops to force him to step down is a declaration of war, and he is ready to defend his nation. Regional leaders said they would put troops on alert in case Jammeh refuses to step down at the end of his mandate on January 19th. Jammeh is digging in his heels following his defeat at the ballot box in December by businessman Adama Barrow. Jammeh initially accepted the results, but later rejected it, alleging irregularities. In a New Year's message, Jammeh declared ECOWAS's decision to force him out totally illegal.
Let me make it very clear that we are ready to defend the country against any aggression, and there will be no compromise on this. My government will, inshallah, never opt for such confrontation unless when we are compelled to defend our sovereignty, independence, and dignity. Defending our sovereignty and total independence is a sacred duty for all patriotic Gambians, more so the Gambia Armed Forces.
Well, Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari has stepped in as an ECOWAS mediator to offer Jammeh an honorable exit. But Jammeh says ECOWAS can no longer fulfill that role. In East Africa, a group of Ugandan lawmakers is asking the International Criminal Court to investigate possible atrocities committed by government security forces when they clashed with a tribal militia last year. The ICC's Office of the Prosecutor has confirmed receiving the petition. Ugandan government officials say 62 people were killed when a combined force of soldiers and police clashed with the tribal leaders' guards in the Rwenzori region. The lawmakers' petition to the ICC claims more than 200 people were killed, and the police and the army jointly committed genocide and crimes against humanity. The Rwenzori region, which has been beset by unrest, often votes for the opposition in general elections. Critics of Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni accuse his government of deliberately stoking violence in the region as retribution. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump continues to cast doubt on the conclusion of U.S. intelligence that Russian hacking interfered in America's presidential election. U.S. intelligence chiefs are testifying on Capitol Hill Thursday on the cyber breach. President Obama has imposed new sanctions on Russia, and prominent Republicans say that they want even tougher sanctions against Russia for what they call a brazen attack on American democracy. VOA's Zlatin Sahok has more.
The Armed Services Committee hearing is chaired by prominent Republican John McCain, who said Wednesday it is clear that Russia was behind the hacking and must bear consequences. He called it an act of war by Russia. For his part, Trump has consistently praised Russian President Vladimir Putin, most recently for not responding in kind to the Obama administration's expulsion of Russian diplomats from the United States. In a tweet on Wednesday, Trump reiterated that anyone could have hacked the Democratic Party's computer system and that his rival Hillary Clinton's campaign should have been more careful. Trump's steadfast defense of Russia and Putin puts the president-elect outside the mainstream of America, says Brian Katulis, a U.S. expert on national security.
Republicans in Congress have called for special investigations into Russia's activities that go above and beyond what President Obama has asked intelligence agencies to do. And I think if you look at public opinion polls among most Americans, there's deep concern about what Russia's role and involvement might have been on various fronts in our election process. So, in essence, President-elect Trump has placed himself outside of the mainstream of the country that he's about to govern on this issue of Russia, and outside of the tradition of U.S. bipartisan foreign policy that has looked at Russia with a certain degree of skepticism.
McCain, who once unsuccessfully ran for president, has not been hesitant in his condemnation for Russia.
We will work in the Congress to have stronger sanctions in order to prevent further attacks on the United States of America, and we will be working on a bipartisan basis to achieve that.
McCain and fellow Senator Lindsey Graham reiterated this message through a visit to several former Soviet republics in the past week. McCain also indicated that Congress is prepared to fight Trump on the issue.
We want to work with the incoming president, but we also have our responsibilities as legislators to respond to an attack on the United States of America.
Trump has picked a Texas oil businessman with close ties to Putin for his Secretary of State. It is not clear whether senators will support that choice amid the deteriorating relations with Russia. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
The U.S. State Department is warning U.S. citizens not to travel to the South Sudan because of ongoing fighting, intercommunal violence, and violent crime. Aid workers, including U.S. citizens, have been the targets of shootings, violent assaults, and harassment. For analysis on the situation in South Sudan, I'm joined by Brian Adeba, Associate Director of Policy at ENAF Project. Brian, welcome, and it's good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Now, first, we know that there has been ongoing tensions in South Sudan. Do you find this advisory fair?
Yes, indeed. I mean, at the moment, continuous fighting is spreading all over the country. The rhetoric that is coming from elements within South Sudan is perpetuating the possibility of ethnic atrocities, that a genocide possibly. And then also the fact that the parties in the conflict, the government and the rebels, the armies that form these two entities are tribally or ethnically inclined. So the stakes have been heightened for a possible unfolding of mass atrocities.
Yes. Now, we know that, first, genocide is a really packed word. It's a heavy concept. Both sides in this conflict blame each other for whatever has been happening there. Who would be planning a genocide?
Well, I mean, if you look at how this conflict has unfolded, the scenarios where genocide-like events have unfolded have been committed by both sides. In December 2013 in Juba, we saw the mass murder of people of Nuer ethnicity. This was reciprocated by the rebel troops when they captured towns like Bentiu in Upper Nile, towns like Malakal, and towns like Bor, where the rebels are predominantly Nuer.
Yeah.
And they went on a killing spree of people who are Dinka. And in December 2013, the government army, which is ethnically dominated by the Dinka, committed the same atrocity on Nuer civilians resident in Juba.
Yeah. Now, it's always good to get someone like you to kind of put things in perspective, because when you talk to officials on both sides, they deny their side doing anything. And they always talk about just being in defense, in a kind of a defensive position. With this kind of ethnicizing of this conflict, what is it that it will take to actually achieve peace in South Sudan?
Well, at the moment, let's talk of the peace deal itself, which is dead, and it needs to be revived. And for that to happen, it really needs the intervention of external actors. And particularly in this sense, we see the United States as playing a crucial role to exert the kind of pressure that's needed on the actors within South Sudan and also actors in the region. For the African Union and IGAD, the peace deal is working.
Yeah.
And the government also thinks the peace deal is working. We all know that it's dead.
Yeah.
And so someone external has to step in.
Now, we know this is a transition period. Soon we're going to have a new president of the United States. What is your sense? Are things going to be a bit different in terms of the U.S. Policy towards South Sudan?
Well, we don't know what the Trump foreign policy would look like, but we can look at his utterances during the campaign to infer what it should look like.
Yeah.
So, for instance, he's come out very strongly against political corruption. In South Sudan, political corruption is at the core of the issue. It's what perpetuates the violence that's happening. It's what perpetuates the looting of public coffers by officials. So this is where we see that the Trump administration can also can draw from the statements he's made during the campaign trail. Secondly, Trump himself as a businessman is used to building leverages with partners to bring them to the table.
So that gives hope.
Yeah, that gives us hope that the United States can use the leverage at its disposal to bring the two parties
Thanks, Brian. Thanks a lot for your perspectives.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Brian Adeba is Associate Director of Policy at the NAF Project. Going down south, two big health challenges for Zimbabwe. First, the country is dealing with an outbreak of typhoid. At least 2 people have died and dozens are sick. Authorities blame the dirty water supply worsened by the rainy season. The second front is mental health. Doctors call it a hidden crisis, but a new program is underway that could serve as a blueprint for tackling mental health problems in Africa. Henry Ridgewell reports.
Doctors estimate 1 in 4 Zimbabweans suffer from depression or anxiety, but there are just 12 psychiatrists treating the country's entire population of 14 million.
We can't possibly go the route of training psychiatrists and psychologists because it would take 15 years. How are we going to provide treatment?
Local doctors have come up with a simple but seemingly highly effective idea. Wooden seats, so-called friendship benches, were installed on the grounds of several Harare health clinics. Visitors were offered 6 one-to-one counselling sessions with lay health workers who have received some training. They are known as grandmother health providers.
The very lowest cadre of the health system to train those women to offer problem-solving therapy. And so the patient explains what all their problems are, and it's opening up the mind in the sense of allowing the patient to see that they can do something about their problems.
The study involved more than 550 patients. After 6 months, only 14% of the patients in the Friendship Bench group reported symptoms of depression, compared to 50% in a control group. They were also 5 times less likely to have suicidal thoughts. Co-founder of the Friendship Bench programme, Dr. Dixon Chibanda of the University of Zimbabwe, told VOA via Skype the intervention had a wide range of benefits.
Not only a mental health sort of package, but a package that actually improved outcomes of things like hypertension, diabetes, and adherence to medication for people living with HIV.
That success has led to friendship benches being rolled out to 60 clinics in Harare and 2 other cities. The Canadian government is helping to fund the expansion through its Grand Challenges Canada aid programme.
It's going to be, we think, one of the biggest programs for mental health in sub-Saharan Africa.
Researchers say it could be a blueprint for mental health in low-income regions and could also offer lessons for treatment in richer countries. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vincent Makori. Coming up, Dr. C dispenses healthcare advice via the internet. Lenore has the story in tonight's Health. Stay with us. Welcome back to Africa 54. Joining us now is our health correspondent, Lino Abdu, with a look at anemia and hearing loss. Hello, Lino.
Researchers say hearing impairment in some people may be related to anemia, a common condition in which there is not enough iron in the blood. In a study of more than 3,000 U.S. adults aged 21 to 90, researchers at Pennsylvania State University found the prevalence of hearing loss among participants overall was 1.6%, compared with 3.4% among those with iron deficiency anemia. The most common forms of hearing loss associated associated with anemia in the study were sensory neural hearing loss and conductive hearing loss. However, researchers say it's possible that correcting anemia with supplemental iron could improve the conditions. The findings were published in the journal JAMA Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery. Now, a popular Germany-based physician known as Dr. C dispenses health advice on the internet via YouTube and other online platforms, mostly in broken or pidgin English. Her healthcare tips reach a large population of people without access to affordable healthcare in Cameroon and across West Africa.
I want to talk about stroke.
Dr. Susan Njema Awehis, a native of Cameroon, is widely known as Dr. C. She practices in Germany and specializes in internal medicine and cardiology. Dr. Awehis uses short videos to offer information to her fellow Cameroonians on disease prevention, management and care and posts them on YouTube. She says a colleague encouraged her with the idea to disseminate her knowledge on the internet.
When he approached me, I was like, brilliant idea. I already have lectures in hypertension, lectures in diabetes and pidgin. We could just start. Why don't we start?
The topics covered are mostly done in pidgin English, which is widely spoken in parts of West Africa.
My favorite video is that on antibiotic resistance. Why? It's because antibiotic resistance is something that many people don't know about. It's something that is a silent killer that keeps rising, and none of us know about it.
Dr. C uses the web platform as a way to counter infrastructure bottlenecks in the country where access to doctors and services remains a challenge. According to some statistics, there are fewer than 2 doctors for every 10,000 people. At the Baptist Hospital in Kumba, Dr. Tata Divine says doctors in the country are generally overwhelmed and that he even sees 60 patients a day sometimes. However, he is skeptical about online healthcare.
You really need a medical personnel, a trained doctor, to clerk you, examine, and then maybe do some tests to be able to say, okay, this person is having a kind of chronic typhoid which has perforated his intestines, and that can be an emergency. It's an emergency because it can easily lead to septicemia and many other things setting. And then, so talking about going online to seek for medical attention, it's quote-unquote good, but it can be very harmful too.
Dr. C says there are some hurdles to overcome.
The challenges come as poverty, lack of information, lack of infrastructure, because even if someone in a village is informed about what is going on in their body, they know what they should do, what they shouldn't do. If they need professional care, they will have to leave from that village sometimes to go somewhere else because the infrastructure is not there. And even when that health care is in the neighboring urban setting, they might not even have the road.
Dr. C has a web page where she posts health articles. She says her work targets not only people in her native Cameroon, but throughout the region. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Lenore Moudou. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, thanks a lot, Lenore. Be sure to watch Lenore Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Now, global celebration erupted around the world on New Year's Day. In Cape Town, the Creole or colored community celebrated the new year with a carnival on January the 2nd in remembrance of their slave ancestors. Rory Sheldon has the story.
For Cape Town's colored culture, New Year is celebrated a little differently. Kaapse Klopse, or Tweede Nuwejaar, happens on the 2nd of January.
This is an annual road march that takes place in Cape Town on every year, the 2nd of January, and all the troops from mostly the colored community take part in.
The festival is a modern-day reminder of the slave past in Cape Town. Traditionally, slaves would get one day off on the 2nd of January every year, and the festival has been celebrated in their remembrance ever since slavery was abolished in South Africa in the 1800s.
It's still going on many, many years. How many years? About plus minus 300-400 years, 100 years, 300 years around there.
The New Year was the day when the slaves could celebrate their freedom.
participating minstrels are garbled in bright colours and either carry umbrellas or play an array of musical instruments. Over 13,000 minstrels participate in 17 different troupes that compete for prizes. Members of the Cape Coloured community generally reside in the Cape Flats, where crime, violence and poverty are extremely high. In the face of these hardships, the festival serves to unite the community.
Everybody's so excited to be here. Some people are here since before the new year, camping out there just to see the carnival.
It's all in here today. We're having fun today.
The festival has faced a number of challenges from the city over the years relating to funding and traffic disruptions. But even though the festival remains underfunded, staunch support from the coloured community has ensured that this celebration of music and dance continues, no matter what the cost.
It's in our blood, and they can't take it away. They can't take it away, it's in our blood.
Despite the many difficulties being faced by the Cape Coloured culture, the festival is increasing in popularity each year as it engenders a sense of pride, creativity and unity within the community. This is Rory Sheldon for VOA News, Cape Town.
Well, still to come on Africa 54, we visit the birthplace of Melania Trump, America's next First Lady, and find out what the hometown folks are saying right after this.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In the United States, the UN Security Council welcomes a comprehensive political agreement in the DRC that will see President Joseph Kabila step down after elections to be held by the end of 2017. In Libya, Red Crescent workers recovered the bodies of 5 African migrants from the shores of the Libyan capital, Tripoli. Residents in Togo's capital, Lomé, welcome a move by the government to import cleaner fuel into the country. Finally, in South Africa, firefighters battle a fire that has been burning in the mountains in the Western Cape, damaging several vineyards and buildings. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Big baby news for our pop star Janet Jackson. Janet and husband Wissam Almana are celebrating the birth of their first child, baby boy Asa Almana. At 50 years old, Jackson now joins other superstar moms who have had babies later in life, including Halle Berry, who had a baby at 47. While having a child over the age of 50 is rare, it is increasing. First births in women older than 35 are up since 2000. But why? Partly because women are pursuing careers and waiting later to have kids. Well, the inauguration of Donald Trump as U.S. president is bringing new fame to the former Yugoslav Republic of Slovenia, where his wife, Melania, was born. A sense of pride is sweeping the country and her hometown, where some are finding their own unique ways to honor the future first couple. VOA's Luis Ramirez has more.
Sevnica, population 5,000, is a medieval town that suffered the ravages of World War II. In the post-war communist years, it became an industrial center. Not exactly the place of dreams, but big dreams are what happened here. After growing up in a nondescript apartment block, Melania Knaus went on to fame and fortune. Now, Sevnica honors Melania at this bake shop, a cake modeled after the former supermodel.
We were very proud of Melania's success. She used to be one of us, and we are really happy for her. And so everything what we do is making cakes. So we create simple but luxury cake. We wanted to have a beautiful cake like she is.
Some thought went into the cake. elegance, and a touch of gold.
We use all the best ingredients that we have at that moment because only the best was good for Melania. And we use also white chocolate because we wanted a white. We want to make a white cake because she wears a lot of white dresses.
Melania's husband also gets a tribute. At a local restaurant, a chef puts together a hamburger in honor of the incoming American president. It starts with shavings of yellow Slovenian cheese fried to a crisp to resemble the hairdo that is now known across the globe. Some barbecue salsa on the side because he says a Mexican touch makes things better. And voila, a presidential burger.
The idea with the cheese came from his hair. Just so you know, we don't make fun of the president, but the cheese associates with the president somehow. And we used arugula because it is a bit more sophisticated kind of salad. What is the message of the Mexican barbecue salsa? We think that everyone deserves a chance, no matter where he comes from. So we added a bit of Mexico too.
Local vintners are getting ready to put out a new wine called First Lady. This winemaker, a friend of Melania's family, says residents are sad that Donald Trump has never been to Sevnica, and even sadder that the town's most famous daughter has yet to return.
If only she would come with a big heart and hug someone in our town or in the middle of Ljubljana and say, "Here I am." This is something that every individual, not only in Slovenia but also elsewhere, could wish.
For Melania, home will soon be the White House, but here, the home fire is also waiting. Luis Ramirez, VOA News, Sevnica, Slovenia.
Well, and that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.
I'm Michelle Joseph for Anglais Télé. This is VOA. Follow us at La Voix de l'Amérique. Go to lavoixdelamérique.com.
Welcome to English in a Minute. You have probably heard of to-do lists. When going to a store, you might make a shopping list. But what is a bucket list? Let's listen as Jonathan and Anna explain.
Bucket list.
Guess what I'm finally doing this weekend? Skydiving.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, it's been on my bucket list for years, so I'm finally going to do it.
I have a few things on my bucket list too, but jumping out of a plane is not one of them.
A bucket list is a list of things you want to do before you die. You can put anything on your bucket list. Writing a book, traveling overseas, or in that daredevil Anna's case, skydiving. And that's English in a Minute.